Hello, Asylumists. It is I, Targy, otherwise known as the Asylum Reaper, and welcome back to another episode of Targy Talks. I actually had a couple ideas of things that I wanted to do or talk about today, so I hope all of you Asylumists are doing well. Still a few weeks out, at the least, of getting my equipment back. But when we do get back, I've detailed what I planned on doing in a previous Targy Talks episode. We're back with my phone in the hand. It's kind of weird. However, I do believe even when I get my equipment back, we're going to continue doing this type of thing, except obviously it won't be on my phone. I do genuinely believe it is helping me with my commentary and learning how to talk with y'all, whether or not that matters or not. I was just thinking about it the other night, that some people might find it ironic that I've technically been on this platform for 5 years. And I just hit my 100 subscriber milestone less than a year ago. So, I was kind of laughing about that last night. I'm like, oh my god, if I had just been more focused, which I couldn't have been at those times. I don't even know what I was doing half the time when I was uploading back then. It was meaningless slop. But anyway, I'm getting kind of sidetracked from kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I recently beat, because I remember I told you guys the Resident Evil games that I hadn't played. Like, I hadn't played Revelations 1 or 2. I don't know. I might have played a little bit of 6 with a friend, like when I was like, I can't even remember how long ago. But, because I booted it up to see, I like to check and see, like, all the settings, get everything ready, even though I'm not done with 5 yet, and I still have Revelations 2 after that, before 6. But, apparently I have a save file on my Xbox account. I don't remember. It's going to be a fresh experience for me regardless, because I don't remember. But Revelations 1, that was my first experience with Revelations 1. I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the 2 remake or original 3. However, I do like how it went back to form after 4. I don't know how any of what I'm going to say here, I don't know how to structure it, but I know this is what I want to talk about. I wanted to kind of give my take on how I felt about Revelations. Throughout the game, it was, I don't know truly if the game would have benefited from not having little sections where you play as other characters, if the entire game took place on the ship. The name of the ship is escaping my memory. I remember the sister ship, the Semiramis. I don't remember the ship that you play on. I'd have to go back and look. It's a few days out since I've beaten it. I'm currently playing through 5 now. Having a blast replaying through that. That one I played as a child, among some of the other ones. But Revelations, I really enjoyed the gameplay. I didn't really care too much for the scanning aspect. In fact, I barely did the scanning unless I absolutely needed to. Other than that, I didn't feel like it was too difficult. I didn't really find the running back sections as engaging as in the RE2 remake and original 3, and even the original remaster of the first Resident Evil. It didn't feel that engaging. I also don't know what was up with the wardrobe design for the characters. That some of them did not seem like they were dressed for the occasion. Most of them did. Not that really broke my immersion. It is a Resident Evil game, and not only is it a Resident Evil game, it's one of the later Resident Evil games, so things really get ramped up to 11. But I really didn't feel like some of the characters dressed appropriately. I know that it was originally a DS game, so some of the character models, Raymond, for example, looked like he was chiseled out of stone. and it made no sense whatsoever. So there was that. That was kind of... I really remember being taken aback by that. I enjoyed the return of the Hunter Alphas. I believe they were Hunter Alphas. I don't know if they mentioned anywhere throughout the story. I did pay attention to all the dialogue as it was my first time playing. I don't remember them mentioning if it was a different strain that created those hunters. I know we had the camouflage hunters, which were definitely a different strain, because I know we were dealing with the T-Abyss virus in Revelations, which I now know of 3 different viruses, which obviously I already knew about the T virus and the G virus, which a lot of the movies don't even go into what the G virus is unless you watch Welcome to Raccoon City. Phenomenal film. Rewatched that recently just out of just out of curiosity, because I could barely remember parts of the movie. Definitely a better live-action Resident Evil film. However, if you want a good Resident Evil experience with a movie, you're just going to have to watch the animated ones. I believe the most recent animated one, Death Island, was phenomenal. Not really. I don't really want to sit here and talk about the movies, but back to Revelations. The enemies, I didn't really like. It didn't feel Resident Evil. It felt like they tried to do something very, very similar to the mold that we see in Resident Evil 7. And I guess by extension 8, though we don't see it as much in 8. Because they really kind of dialed back. Which I don't believe they should have. I think 7 was an amazingly crafted horror experience as well as a survival experience at the same time. I really don't think they should have dialed back on 8. I believe I said it during my playthrough of 8, that the entire game should have taken place in the castle. Like, if they had just made the castle massive, I don't believe we needed all the outdoor sections, most of which took place during the day, might I add. So I really feel like they dialed back on the horror aspect of 8, but overall 8 was phenomenal. No, Revelations. I keep going to other things because I keep segueing. I think I'm doing that like subconsciously, just talking naturally here. There was a couple enemies that I didn't really like dealing with either in Revelations. The type that fired whatever that was at me, they were just kind of annoying. Because I also noticed that it would clip through the wall sometimes. If you were like behind cover, behind a corner, which I don't know if it's what I do a lot of the time in third-person overhead shooting games. You peer around the corner, you take cover behind a corner. Most of the time it feels like it's hitboxed the proper way. Other times it just feels like regardless of if there's a collision or a wall there, it just goes right through it. That's how it felt a lot of the time. I didn't really like the weapon system. Buying weapons. I might be thinking of the wrong thing. Am I thinking of Revelations? Because I am playing 5 currently, and I know you can buy guns in 5. But I already knew... It's weird. You can also buy guns in 4, so I don't know what I'm really... getting kind of off on a really weird tangent here. But no, there was a couple enemies that gave me trouble. That was one of them. What was the name of the character? The other agent that was sent in with Raymond. That, and I think the enemy type is called Ooze, which the T-Abyss virus is a really weird one. And the story was really weird to follow. I'm not going to try to get into that. I'm not like this uber knowledgeable with the lore and the consistencies and all that crap. Not for this particular franchise, anyway. There are some that I could do that. This is not one of them. The story was... I just felt like it was all over the place, especially when we switched to other characters, which... I'll get on to characters here in a second. Oh god, there are 2 characters which I have never seen before, and I don't know if I want to see again. It felt really out of place. And I'll get to those. I'll get to them in a second. But there was these bigger enemies that had like a little head off to the side. They were really weird. They felt really bullet spongy. A lot of the enemies actually felt really bullet spongy. to a really weird degree. I mean, even down to some of the boss fights. The first, I don't know if you would technically call this a boss fight, but I'm sure that it was considered and probably quoted as such by the development team. And that's, I might be taking a stretch there, but that first fight with the other agent getting infected, where you have to run back through the area, and every now and again, at what appeared to be scripted segments, because I replayed it a couple times, because I died. I'm not going to leave that part out. I'm not some uber gamer here, you know. I tend to play at somewhat more of a casual level now that I'm kind of done with all the Call of Duty era of my life, where I was like uber competitive. I've learned to slow down and chill out a bit more. But I did die a couple times. I was playing it on the standard difficulty. And that's primarily because I was playing this after playing the 2 and 3 remake, which played so well. They play so well compared to, like, the old ones. And I know that there's probably hardcore fans out there that prefer the old style of controls. I'm not one of them. I will play the old style of controls. I just, like, if given the option, I will not. That's just me, personally. And I also want to say, in that moment, I do kind of regret not playing 8 in third person. I played 8 in first person. The DLC didn't give me a choice. I played the DLC in third person. I do kind of want... I think I will, probably not posting, but I will go back and play 8 in third person, just for the experience, because, you know, obviously 7 was a departure from what I was familiar with up until that point, and I guess just coming off of playing Outlast and Fear, I played 8 in first person. That's the only reason I played it in first person. So, other than that, I'm going to go ahead now and swiftly go to the boss fights in Revelations. How I felt about those, which I was kind of already talking about. There was... How many boss fights? There was that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. At minimum, I can remember 5 boss fights. I'm really close. There was that one that I just spoke about. The next one is a regular... All of these, for the most part, turned out to be regular enemies, except for, like, 2 that I can think of. 2 ended up not being regular enemies. The rest of them that would be considered a boss fight ended up just being regular enemies that we would see later, sometimes in larger groups. Which I know a lot of the other Resident Evil games have done. I think that trend started primarily in 4, I want to say. Not for, like, the major boss fights, but I know 4 incorporated a lot of segments that would seem like this is a major fight against a new enemy type scenario. However, Revelations really framed it as this is a significant moment. The first of which being the giant dude that I was talking about with the head coming out of the shoulder. The first time you fight him, you are in an area that you can't really get out of until after you defeat the boss. And he's presented as the boss. He's like a bullet sponge. The bullet spongiest of bullet sponges. I remember expending most of the ammunition I had occurred to up until that point, including the newly found sniper rifle, which does a lot of damage. It did like 1,200 damage, which, by the way, I don't know how I feel about damage numbers being presented in a Resident Evil game. I really like their roots, where it's a survival horror. The only numbers you really need to be worried about are how much ammunition you still have in your inventory. I like that aspect. I've recently, and this is going to be slightly off topic, and this is probably something that I'm going to stream quite a bit. And also I'll get into streaming here in a little bit, but I've been getting really into those factory management games. I'm currently looking forward to, I don't know if it'll happen before I get my equipment back. If it happens before I get my equipment back, I'm looking forward to being able to get Satisfactory on console. I've really had this craving for that type of game. I'm currently playing Atrio, which was one of the games like that, and I'm also playing Astroneer. Not games that are typically associated with my channel, but games that I enjoy as a person that I might incorporate later on. And I'm also planning on, when I get to Revelations 2 and 6, I might just stream those because they would be my first time playing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back and get that put on my YouTube channel. I might be able to get that done on my phone. But those will be going up on my channel, so that'll give you guys something to watch. But I'm currently playing through 5 right now. And I'm not going to start streaming it in the middle of the gameplay. That would be weird. But that's something I plan on doing. Back to Revelations. The next boss fight after that, if I'm remembering correctly, is the giant enemy that attacks you when you get on the elevator. I don't know the names of any of these creatures. Unlike how I know, like, Liquor, Hunter, Hunter Alpha, Hunter Gamma, Hunter Beta, like, all that stuff, I know. Cerberus is the dogs. I think they were just called zombie dogs. The web spinners and the black, I forget, the black tiger in RE1, Yawn. I can go on and on. Neptune was the shark. Random fact. But no, I can go on and on and on about that. But it was that boss fight. It attacks you on the elevator. You fight it until you can go up the elevator. And then before you can finish doing that objective, it traps you in the room. That was an interesting boss fight, though I didn't feel like it was dynamic or intuitive enough to hold my attention. It kind of felt like one of those bosses that you get to in a game where it's so bland and boring and straightforward that you just kind of trudge through it. That's what it felt like. And then after that boss fight was the next one that I can remember was the tougher enemy, the larger enemy that was kind of similar, that when you go into the lab for the first time and you go into the decam and you and Chris are separated, it breaks through the wall. That was presented as a major aspect, major boss fight. That was a bullet sponge, and I only beat it due to finding the rocket launcher in the following room. Well, I can't say I only beat it, but I beat it probably quicker than most people did because I doubled back into the next room before I killed it. I did lay down the law on it for the bit where I was stuck in the room with it. And then there's the major boss fight at the end, like with the kaiju. That was an intuitive boss fight. However, I do feel like it lacked in a lot of aspects of scale. I really didn't feel like at any moment I didn't fear for the character I was playing as. I didn't fear like this is something that could go horribly wrong. We were in a helicopter. It really wasn't grabbing us at all. We could have just flown away and said screw it. I mean, other than that, those were the oh wait, no, there's one boss fight after that I this one I will praise as probably one of the most unique boss fights that I have played in a Resident Evil game up until that point. And that was the final guy, I think his name was Norman, something like that. He injects himself with the virus, and he becomes this hulking, he kind of looks similar in design to the Proto-Tyrant, mixed kind of with the G-Virus Birkin with the exposed thing. Although then again, Proto-Tyrant and Tyrant 01 did that first. So there's that. And this was a good boss fight. This one, playing on normal difficulty, this boss fight actually gave me legitimate trouble. Whereas every other, like, boss fight, you could say, that I talked about so far in this video, I breezed through easily. This one, I had to replay, like, this one took me a good hour and a half. And that was, I had to master, this was like the first moment in the entire game where the dodge mechanic really came into play, and up until that point, I didn't find myself using it hardly at all. So that led me into this fight not knowing how to do it consistently. I spent an hour and a half in this boss fight, for the most part, learning how to dodge. Because if you can't dodge in this boss fight, you are in for the longest boss fight in your life. And by that, I mean you're going to be doing it over and over and over. You have to learn how to dodge in this fight. And another key to this fight for me was the shotgun. Now, I noticed every time I died when I respawned in the room, the ammo drops that were in the room pre-spawned were different every time. Sometimes they'd be shotgun ammo, which is good. Sometimes they'd be machine gun ammo, which, depending on which machine gun you had equipped at the time, is also good. It was just so hard. It was really difficult. I don't know, maybe some people don't find it that difficult, but that was my experience with Revelations. I really enjoyed the ship sections. Let's get on to the characters, because I mentioned that earlier. Raymond, you heard me mention him. Why is he chiseled like a stone? He looks like that statue that SpongeBob created in that one episode with Squidward, where it was all about, what was it? I forget the actual terminology, but they were like hammer and chiseling stone, and he just made this perfect statue of Squidward. Raymond is chiseled like that, like the Squidward that got his face smashed in by the door and he became handsome Squidward. That's what Raymond looks like. Also, even by the end of the story, I don't know if Raymond's on our side or not. It's left in the wind. And like I said, I've never heard of these characters afterwards. Like, they don't get brought up in 7 or 8. Maybe they get brought up in 6, Revelations 2. I definitely don't recall any of them being mentioned in 5. So I don't know. And that gets me onto the characters of Chris and Jill. I think they seemed fine for the most part. I know this is supposed to be pre-Boulder Punching Chris, just right on the brink of being Boulder Punching Chris. Because I know that it takes place before they go to the manor or mansion and fight Wesker for the first time. I know it happens before that, before Jill gets captured by Wesker and made into a bad guy in 5. I know it takes place before that. But why is Jill wearing that outfit if it's for the fact that this is kind of like a wet works mission, where you're dealing with the water and you're on a boat and it's at sea? That's all great if you want to have that explanation. Why is Parker not wearing something similar? I get that they work for the BSAA and that they don't really have a standardized uniform. I understand that. At least from what I've seen, they don't have a standardized uniform for their top agents at the very least. They just kind of wear what they want. Or so it seems in this game. There's another character. Jessica, why are you wearing a one-legged suit? This is a dangerous mission with BOWs and just straight up monsters of the imagination. And you are wearing a one-legged suit. Why? And they throw this joke at us a couple times, right? Where it's like, she's kind of flirting with Chris, but kind of not flirting with Chris. And then she's revealed to be the double agent, the bad guy. And it's like, why? What's your motivation? We don't get your motivation. They never go into that detail. In fact, the story is so hard to follow, it blows my mind. It makes me want to have a physical aneurysm. I don't understand it. And I'm not saying all Resident Evil game stories are so cut and dry, but there's so many different things that they bring up in this story that have either A, never been discussed and or even alluded to prior, or C, on the farther end of the spectrum, don't lead anywhere or even get an engaging or even final resolution. They don't go anywhere. I digress. I digress. I don't understand the caricature. Like, Chris, in my personal opinion, is the only one out of the 4 characters that I even remotely view as characters that could be feasibly in this universe, aside from what Jessica is wearing. We're not talking about that one-legged suit on this demonic ship filled with the T-Abyss virus and monstrosities that our imagination cannot even fathom. One-legged suit. That brings me to the only other two characters, and by the way, you don't even get to play as Jessica, so these other characters I'm about to mention are the only other two playable characters in this game, in the main story. I didn't touch raid mode. I don't really care to touch raid mode. I'm here for the story. If I had a buddy to play raid mode with, maybe, but, you know, I'm beyond that at this point. I'm playing through them story-wise, going up to 9. Comes out February 27th, by the way, of next year. Grinder and Jackass. I shit you not. They refer to the other characters refer to this dude as Jackass, and whoever the voice actor was took one look at that name and said, "Oh yeah, let's make him talk and act like a jackass." And what makes me so infuriated about this, other than how they act, is if we are to take this story and the fights that we get into in this story as canon, him and Grinder, by the way, who is the only character that I look at and hear talking, can actually see as being even in the remotely the same group as a Chris or Jill. And even then, his writing is piss poor at best as well. But if we are to take this as canon, those two, by themselves, canonically, take down groups, not one, groups of the Hunter Alphas that can go invisible. These same Hunter Alphas that we have seen consistently in prior entries, even in this very game, we saw them consistently take down a city of... They sent in what I would assume to be well-trained, militarized groups. Took down a city. Mind you, I want to also go into the detail of we also see these other new characters, Parker and Jessica, consistently go through a building filled with these hunters. Not the invisible ones, the regular ones. The invisible ones I deem as worse because, A, you show these characters react to security footage of people being murked by these invisible Hunter Alphas. Or whatever they're called. I'm calling them invisible Hunter Alphas. They react as if they can't even physically see or sense what is happening to these other people that are getting murked by this thing. And they canonically survive not only that, but the place that they fight their last group at supposedly gets bombed and destroyed, and at the very, we don't see or hear from them. Then at the very end of the game, during the credits, we cut to them walking away through the fucking snowy ice tundra, by the way, walking away, talking with each other. They didn't survive. They're not a Chris. They're not a Leon. They talked and acted like jokes. They made comedic skits, like when they walked into a room at one time, they immediately jump into a back-to-back pose like they're action heroes. What am I playing? Other than that, the other characters that we are presented with, either their story is so convoluted that I can't figure out what their motivations are, or we just don't see enough of them to get any grasp on anything other than what the developers of the game are trying to get us to feel for said character. It baffles me and it boggles my mind. That's going to sum up how I feel about Resident Evil Revelations. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to talk about something else. Just really quick. Because I just kind of I got onto the topic of it at some point throughout this, and I kind of want to go into detail about that. Whether or not I already have or haven't, I don't necessarily remember. If I'm going over it again, oh well. I do intend on streaming my playthrough of Revelations 2 and my playthrough of RE6. I do intend on streaming those experiences. They would be my first time experiences with those games. As a hardcore fan also at the same time being on the newer end of being a fan compared to a lot of the people that got to play the originals and things like that. I know the original 3 came out the year I was born in 99, so there's that. But I do want to stream and play through those, and what I might start doing here for other games that I want to play on my channel, I might just start streaming them in their longevity and not necessarily interacting as much with the people watching the stream, because I'll be putting forth, it'll be my first time playing. I kind of want to start just kind of streaming into that aspect of things as well, and then I might just take those videos, those VODs of like the 2-hour stream or an hour stream, and upload them to my YouTube channel as a first episode. I might just start doing that, and that will allow me to give you guys some content at the very least until I can get my PC back. So it'll be face camless, but however, at least you guys are getting, you're getting my gameplay and you're getting my vocals. And, you know, we'll get back to face cam when we get my equipment back, but I might start doing that just to give you guys some content. And what else do I kind of want to lean into here? I did my Revelations 1 review. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is significant that has happened other than me really kind of getting into, like, Actrio and Astroneer and wanting to kind of do things in that realm as well. Anything else that is significant to this? I don't want to get too off topic. I kind of want to keep to the topic that I'm on. I can't really think of much else, Asylumus. It's just kind of been... It's been really good playing through. I wish I could... I'm not going to say I wish I could give you guys more of what I've been doing. I'm going to start streaming what I'm going to do here. Because I'm of the mindset now, because I now know at the very least that it's going to be weeks before I get my equipment back. I want to give you guys something I want to upload, and I can just start doing that way, where I get on Twitch, I stream for an hour, 2 hours, and what I can do at that point is, after the stream is over, I can take it, put it on my YouTube channel, name it. It's not gonna have thumbnails on it or anything. I'll work on that when I get my equipment back. But, you know, I hope that will give you Asylumus something to look forward to. I know some of you are waiting. I know James K, you're waiting. And I appreciate the wait, and I am truly sorry that it is taking as long as it is. I did genuinely hope to have it a lot quicker. However, we're going to move forward like nothing is wrong. We're going to keep going. And we're going to have fun with it, Asylumus. We're going to have a lot of fun with some of the things that I'm going to start doing here coming up. Yeah. So with that being said, there's a couple other things now that I kind of want to segue into a completely separate topic, because I feel like I can just for a little bit, because I don't like getting on the phone and recording too long of videos. That's just me personally, but you know, get something out there for you guys. I wanted to ask a couple questions. I want to leave a couple questions here at the end of the video, as well as what I wanted to talk about. Other things that I might start streaming and just straight up recording for YouTube when I get my equipment back. These are things that I have not discussed. This is going into a whole nother realm and a whole nother genre of game. Would you guys be interested in achievement hunting content? From my point of view, there are a lot of games that I've tried to get like 100% on, primarily the Lego games, and ever since I did that, I've always kind of like, if I can do it to a game that I'm good enough at, I've done it. That sort of thing. Like that's what I wanted to go for in the Binding of Isaac, and who knows, maybe we start going back to streaming Binding of Isaac. Because I did genuinely enjoy that. That's always a fun experience, playing Binding of Isaac. I still play Binding of Isaac to this day. However, if we do redo it, what I might do is maybe just kind of frame it around the Fiend Folio mod. I might just kind of frame it around that. So we'll see on that regard. I've also, the reason I bring up the whole kind of like achievement thing and that type of content is I've recently gotten into games like I said earlier, Satisfactory, factory building games. Obviously, if you've been around on my channel long enough, you know that I'm an avid horror game fan, and I'm also an avid roguelike dude. I love roguelikes. I like Dark Souls. Even though I've never posted a Dark Souls focused content on my channel, I am a Dark Souls fan. The reason I don't upload those to my channel is I don't necessarily know if that's the type of game I want to play on my channel. Like, that's the type of game I enjoy in my spare time when I can just relax, sit back, and casually make builds and just play through the game and experience it in ways that I didn't the first couple playthroughs and that sort of thing. Although I did mention that I hadn't played the Elden Ring DLCs yet, and that I do want to. I did vocalize interest in streaming my playthroughs of those. Obviously, that'll be a ways out because I want to do that on my computer. In order to do that on my computer, I would also need to, on my computer save file, beat Elden Ring. So there's that. And I do plan on doing that. So there's that. And that sort of game, you know, obviously people hear me talk about Satisfactory, and I know that there's probably some people that would also have interest in watching me play games like Stardew Valley and Terraria, which I've also, at several points in this channel's history, vocalized interest in doing, and I might just finally start doing that as I branch out here more. I know this is kind of like a setback for me, because I was really getting into the groove of recording, editing, getting out good content, enjoying making the content, which there has been periods of time in this channel's history and life cycle where I stopped uploading just because not only other things in my life were going on that took more of my attention away from it, also there were a lot of times where I will own up to lack of motivation in the field and all these other variety of things where I just didn't feel like doing it, or I'd just sit there and play games and not record it. But here we are, 5 years into my channel's history, probably over 5 years at this point. But I really don't believe I truly started making content until, I want to say, 2, 3, 4 years ago. 3, 4 years ago. So, and even then, it was when I was younger, I had more going on in my life. Well, by more going on, I mean my brain was focused more on other things rather than what my dream was, which, you know, I'm fulfilling it now. Whether you guys love me, hate me, whether you guys support me or not, I'm going to keep doing this for myself. You know, this is something I enjoy doing. I enjoy uploading content. I enjoy making content. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And I look at my YouTube channel almost every single day not having my equipment, and it's just like, man, imagine how much fun I would have right now playing through this on my channel and, you know, giving you guys that. And it really bums me out, but, you know, we got to stand up, we got to do what we got to do, we got to handle what we got to handle to get to that point. And, you know, we can try to find workarounds, like I said, with the Twitch streams and taking the VOD straight to YouTube and giving you guys an episode like that. That could be fun. That could be a fun workaround. You know, we stay humble, we stay hungry, which is not a mindset that I was in. Oh, I keep getting off camera. That was not a mindset that I was in, I want to say 2-3 years ago, even a year ago, because I wasn't really, like, as driven as I am now. And, like, obviously, yeah, I still got other things going on, clearly, but my new drive has allowed me to make time and actually make an effort into doing this, and I hope that you Asylumists understand that and are appreciative of that, because, like, I've always wanted to just be here and post content, but whether it be due to outside interests or outside focuses or even just long stretches of poor mental health, which I'm willing and open to admit where I just stopped uploading, or something would happen, like a video file corruption in the, in terms of like the Dead Space playthrough, or just a lot of different things. I'd lose motivation and I'd just stop, and that's kind of like my biggest reason for wanting to go back and finish a lot of the playthroughs that I stopped. I know that people probably aren't as interested now for me to finish those. However, I look at it this way, like, if I finish them now, at least if somebody comes by in the future and goes and looks through my channel, they'll see a finished product, And it may feel incohesive, and obviously the video quality is going to drastically change from video to video. However, I do believe in the... what's the word? I want to be genuine in that approach of, at least if you come back as a fan later on looking to see the roots, you are seeing finished products all the way around. If you look at it from a playlist standpoint, I feel like that would be extremely disingenuous to just say, I didn't finish those, and, nobody cares now. Let's just leave it there unfinished. I'm not going to do that. You guys have witnessed me play through games again to get to points that I was at. I did that with... What did I do that with? I did that with Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. Let me pull up my YouTube channel, because I'm opening up, I'm opening up about stuff that I don't think I could ever really segue into in another aspect or another video. Like, this is not something that I could just bring up during a gaming video. If I go to my channel and I go to my playlists, there are games that I have replayed through to get to a certain point to be able to play them and complete them. Amnesia: The Great Work is another one that I replayed through all of the game up until the point that I was at, just to start continuing it again because of the file corruption and stuff. I have to do that again for Cry of Fear. That one's going to be very different when I come back, though, because obviously that's like a management. You have to manage your inventory and your resources and that sort of thing. Alien Isolation will eventually come back. I know they're making another Alien game, Rogue Incursion. That might be interesting. I don't know necessarily how I feel about how they're going about it, but, it's there. I mean, I have replayed through games in the past. I actually think I've redone episodes as well. Like, I redid the Outlast 2 Part 3 episode because I got a file corruption, so I just loaded a previous save, informed you guys that what you were about to see wasn't going to be my first time seeing it, and we made it through that section a lot faster. Therefore, the rest of the video was new and fresh content for you guys, and I really enjoyed doing that. Looking at my streaming history on my YouTube channel, my past live streams they're literally 99.9% Binding of Isaac, and then one stream from 4 years ago where I streamed Half-Life 1, and I don't even know. But anyway, I was off camera again. It's all good. I'm just kind of... This was kind of like a very rant review heavy video with kind of like a bit of sentimental talk at the end. But anyway, thank you, Asylumists, for being here. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you all when I get back. When I get my equipment back, we'll be back at the normal scheduled stuff where I'm going to do like an hour-long uncut of things. Things tend to get done quicker. If I don't have to edit, I can get more videos out for you guys. And I do find that I have more fun with the game just allowing myself to play it for an hour rather than having to worry about, this has to be cut. That has to be cut. It's easier for me to do that. Obviously, I run into the risks of, things getting in the way of that. But, if I have to edit out a little section of something for, a phone call or... something like that happening, I can. That's, the bottom line of that. We'll do that. And that'll give you guys a lot more content. I'll have more content to upload because I'll be able to get 2 to 3 episodes a day done and not really even worry about having to record them aside from putting my intro and outro onto the video and just checking for any other little things like that. That'll allow me to pump out more content for you guys more consistently. I know I plan on doing that format for the Metro games. I plan on doing that format for the Evil Within games. I'm going to be doing that format for RE9. I'm going to be doing that. For the streams that I'm going to upload to YouTube for like games like Revelations 2 and RE6, those are going to be a different format because obviously they're going to be live, just ported over. So obviously when I start up those, I'll give my intro. You won't see my face cam. I'll give my intro, my standard stuff, and then I'll play the game for like 2-3 hours, give my outro, and end the stream, upload it there. So you're going to be getting longer parts for some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing now, or even entire games if the game is short enough. If I can beat the game in like 4 hours or something like that, then you'll see that stream up, obviously, and that'll be ported straight over. So there's a lot of workaround that we can do to give you guys a lot of content. Small little updates that I can give about content that's currently on my channel that I don't know if I ever will bring back. Dread X might be one of them. I don't know. That's one of the ones where I just, very similar to my, what was it called? Mass Effect playthrough that I started and stopped after one episode. I just didn't really enjoy the game. Like, Outlast 2 was phenomenal. Fear 2 obviously is phenomenal. Outlast Whistleblower DLC. Like, I used to never finish things except for, like, Amnesia 1 is, like, the only game that I finished in my early time on YouTube. But since then, literally within the past year, I've finished A Machine for Pigs. We finished... Where is it? We finished Fear 1 and the Extraction Point DLC. We finished Outlast. We finished Amnesia White Knight. We finished the Whistleblower DLC. We finished Outlast 2. We finished Fear 2. We're probably... we're almost 100% on the road to beating Fear 3. I want to also state now, another game that I heard about recently that I might just stream, and I might actually stream it today. The System Shock games. I hear they're a good horror game. I don't have access to one, but I do believe I have access to the sequel, which I'm going to see right now if I do or don't. I might not. That is something I'd like to do in the future. I also am going to be playing Still Wakes the Deep. That's a game that I'm going to be playing as well. I could have sworn... I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering something, but I could have sworn I had access to System Shock. Let me just check something really quick, Asylumus. Saw something about it somewhere. Yeah, okay, so I'm definitely going to be playing the System Shock games on my YouTube channel at some point as well. I thought I had access to them. I thought I might stream it, but I don't. Some games that I do have access to stream, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this at the end of the video, see if you guys want me to stream anything in particular that I have access to, because I absolutely can, 100%. Specifically, horror games. because I feel like that's what you guys like the most from my content. Obviously, I don't know how many of you guys enjoy this aspect, like the Targy talks. I eventually plan on getting back into like rankings, that sort of thing. I can't really filter this by horror games. That's strange. You would think you'd be able to. Games that I could stream in the meantime and have meaningful content up for you guys that are horror related. I'm just going to go through all that I have access to here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that after the video, and then I will make a post on my channel about some of the games that I could stream and some of the games that I might stream over the next few days. Anyway, thank you all Asylumists for watching. If you enjoy this and are excited for more content when I get my equipment back and are excited for the streaming content and all that stuff, all that good stuff, leave a like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of any content that I post here, regardless of what it is. I do shorts on the very, very rare occasion, and mostly horror content. Right now we're doing this Targy Talks because we don't have my computer equipment. But anyway, I have been Targy, otherwise known as the Asylum Reaper, and I will see you all next time.